everybody. Welcome to the Broker Collective podcast. First new episode of 2025. So I'm excited to talk about something that I feel like I know as well as anybody because it's what I've done since I got out of college. But we're going to be talking about sales today and sales marketing. I mean, it's the engine that really drives our businesses, right? If we're not selling, then nothing else really works well beyond that, right? You won't be in business long if you're not selling successfully. So just looking forward to talking about really a lot of things sales today. And, this is going to be an exciting year, I think. We're going to have some really exciting guests on as we move through this year. Speaking on some different topics, more sales, technology, marketing. But to me, I love sales. I've done it since I was 23, 24 years old. I've been blessed to have a very high level of success, a lot of success in my sales career, thankfully. That's obviously come along with a lot of overcoming adversity, learning, growing. I mean, you guys know, if you've been in it for some time, you take it on the chin, man. It's a grind, and a lot of the time, you're getting beat up, and, not a lot of people make it past, a couple of years in sales. So, if you've been doing this for a handful of years or more, then kudos to you. But it's still rewarding at the same time. But look, I want to jump right into it, and really, I hope you guys all come away with this. And I know that if you listen to the whole conversation, then there's no doubt you're going to come away with some things that are going to make you better. They're going to help you grow. They're going to make you a better salesperson. They're going to make your agency better and more profitable, and hopefully have one of your best sales years yet. I know we've been blessed here at HRO, and we've had tremendous growth, since I've been fortunate enough to be here late 2019. And so I'll talk a little bit about some of the things that we're doing too, but I'm really going to speak on kind of what I know and my experience and some of the key things that I think, come along with being in that top 1%, top 5%, call it a President's Club performer, right? It's what we all want to be. I've got some experience with that and just wanted to share it. So, for me, when you're thinking about sales and anything that you're doing, really, I think a great question, a great way to think about it, really, and think about what you're really putting into it is, are you really doing everything in your power right now to generate an exceptional result? Are you doing everything in your control to generate exceptional results? In most cases, the answer is probably not a resounding yes. I think if most of us are really honest with ourselves, we can dig deep and say, we can look back on last year and say, there's probably more I could have did, right? And so, a lot about sales is consistency, right? It's focusing on the controllables. What are the things that you can control? Because we can all complain about the economy and inflation and some of these things that no doubt have an impact. But at the end of the day, there's always still someone out there that's thriving, right? They're finding a way to rise above it. And, we want to be in that same class, right? So a lot of sales, again, is focusing on the controllables. It's focusing on your mindset. It's focusing on consistency. And really showing up every single day and bringing your best self and sticking to the game plan, right? Consistently executing a strategy day in and day out, regardless of how you're feeling, right? And then adaptability is another big one, right? Things are very different, I think, now versus, pre-pandemic, pre-2020, or post-2020, I should say. Post-2020, things are a lot different. At least for most of us anyways, right? I know for us, we're, we went from serving clients in around 4 states to having clients in, I know, at least 44 states now. I think a pretty dramatic expansion because we went from walking indoors and beating the streets here locally to, operating nationally and virtually, and it's been a huge blessing for us, but also a huge learning experience. But, you really have to I think as things shift and change, pay attention to how do your customers buy. So who are you targeting, right? Are you targeting a specific niche? There's specific industries that you serve. How do your customers buy, right? Something that we like to do is really kind of build a buyer persona, right? And understand, who am I targeting and what are their behaviors, right? How does that person buy? How do they make buying decisions now? Where do they kind of hang out and interact and communicate? How do they like to communicate now? These things are really important. They're going to dictate in significant ways, how you prospect and how you find these opportunities. So I do want to move into prospecting a little bit. There's no silver bullets, guys. Everybody's going to have different thoughts and ideas on what works here. I mean, for me, and this is a separate conversation. I have a podcast last year we did on this. Because to me, the king is always referrals, right? But how do you get referrals? That takes a consistent approach and a well thought out strategy in itself, which we've done here, I think, very, very successfully at HRO. And again, there's a previous podcast where I actually go through the steps of, kind of 10 core steps of what it takes to build a scalable referral network. But referrals are always going to be king. But I want to talk about kind of the grind that most of you, I'm sure, are in, right? Talking to our agency partners, I know what the bulk of you guys are doing. You're grinding it out. You're probably mostly sticking to networking in some local circles, but probably a lot of phone calling, right? A lot of cold calling, a lot of emailing, maybe some email campaigns. Maybe some of you, and I'm telling you, like you guys in the insurance industry, I'm telling you, it is very obvious to me that there is a major underutilization of social media. So few of the agencies and agents that we deal with are really consistently active and taking advantage of LinkedIn, for example, the way that they should be, and using that as a tool to really help them boost credibility. It's not all about just conversions. It's also about building credibility, and that helps with all of your prospecting efforts, right? Your prospects are looking you up, right? Especially if you're selling virtually, they're looking you up. So, you want to have an active presence on social. I think that's super important. And then whatever you're doing, right? It doesn't really matter the strategy, guys. Consistency is always going to be a massive factor in the success of anything you do. So I see so many fail because they're all over the map, and hopefully you're not falling in that trap where you're trying one thing for a couple weeks and then you're jumping over here and you're trying a new strategy for a month and then this thing for a couple weeks. It's never going to work. I see so many people who are just like, oh yeah, email doesn't work. Phone calls don't work. This don't work. That don't work, because they don't stick to anything. They don't have a strategy, a real strategy around anything that they're doing. And so they just kind of throwing stuff at the wall, hoping something sticks. And that's not what sales is, guys. That's going to make you very frustrated and have very sporadic results. Another thing I'm going to touch on a little bit, I think it's super important, is just qualified leads, right? If you're making phone calls, maybe it's email campaigns that you're doing, but where are the leads coming from, right? How are you building these lists, and how qualified are those lists? Those things are going to have a huge impact on the success of anything you're doing, right? Phone calls, emails, social outreach, whatever. But I did want to spend a few minutes and, let's talk about, I think from what I see, and this is from years of selling, but also over a decade now of building and leading sales teams, right? And working with hundreds of salespeople and, having a lot of success and working with some very successful salespeople that I've learned a lot from over the years. But the biggest areas that I see people fail when it comes to sales. And I think it'll be a miracle if there's not at least a couple of these that you're probably guilty of. I know, even the best of the best were guilty of some of these things. And we've already touched on one, lack of consistency is huge. I think, you've got to stick with something for some time period to get a big enough sample size, to know if something's really going to work or not. And, it's interesting when I look at, all of our partners across our network. And I was thinking about this earlier. You see a trend where consistently it seems there's most normally more success where there's a team of people involved, whether it's 2 or 3 people in a company, or a company, an insurance agency with 40, 50 employees, versus independent insurance agents, right? And I think a lot of that comes down to it's accountability, right? It's accountability. There's something to be said about when you go into the year and, you set a game plan and you set goals for yourself. When you have teammates that are involved in that, they know what's going on. They know what you're up to. They're pushing you. They're also holding you accountable, right? You're accountable too to, follow through with what you said you're going to do, right? You got extra eyeballs on you. There's other folks watching you and watching what you're doing. And then a lot of you, I think it's, you get kind of working by yourself. You don't have that accountability. I think it's a great idea to bring someone else into the fold, even if it's, a friend, a family member, a mentor. Talk to somebody else about what you're doing. Tell somebody else. I'll do it for you. Reach out to me. I'll hold you accountable. Tell somebody that, hey, here's what I'm going to do in my agency this year. I'm going to accomplish X, Y, and Z. I'm going to sell this much new revenue. I'm going to do, whatever it is, but tell somebody about your goals, about your plans, have somebody in your life that can help maybe hold you accountable. Those things can be very, very powerful in helping you stay consistent and help you follow through. Another one is just poor quality of leads, or just too general. I think just very, a lot of folks, and I did this for years in the very beginning of my sales career, thinking back to like probably 2007, 2008, 2009. It was a lot about building very generic list. And for me, that would be, I'm going to pick a zip code and, I'm building a list of companies between 10 and 100 employees in this zip code. And then I'm going to sit down and just go through the list and start calling on these companies. You can have some success doing that. I think you also will burn yourself out most likely with that approach, because it takes a very high volume of outreach to generate a result, to generate, convert opportunities, versus having a targeted list, right? Okay, so for us, I'll give an example of that. With HRO, obviously we partner with insurance agencies, our core business being HR and payroll solutions. We put a lot of work into building our own organic list. That for us, we're building competitor list in many cases. So I know that, I have a list of, let's say, 5,000 contacts that I know are with ADP Total Source, or they're with Paychex, for example. And so I know my audience. I know who they are. I know that they're, I know things about them, right? They're already using the services to some degree that we provide. I know that they have a renewal date coming up around a specific time of the year. We know when those things are, right? So it helps us, to reach out. And this is always big. Like, this is one of the biggest failures I see, is like not only the poor quality list, but very broad messaging. Okay, and so you can't speak to everybody, and be successful. You've got to be speaking to somebody. And I think the more specific you can make that, the more successful. And so for us, like when we dial it in and we have this very targeted list, and I know the audience, I know something about them, I know what their top frustrations are likely to be, then it helps me create very specific messaging that targets exactly the things that are important to them, exactly the things that are going to be relevant to them, that are going to trigger a response. And because of that, we have dramatically higher than average conversion rates. I mean, open rates, converting to meeting rates. And so for us here, we don't do a lot of cold calling really at all. I mean, we don't do any cold calling, I would say. I mean, we have email campaigns that run to very targeted list with very specific messaging. And then, we're calling, same thing with phone calling. I mean, you're able to reach out and make phone calls with a very specific message. It's a lot easier and a lot less intimidating for newer folks too, to sit down and make those dials when you have a very specific purpose for the call. Like, hey, I'm calling because I know, X, Y, Z is coming up. You have a reason, you had a purpose when you call. And so that can make a huge, huge difference. Another area I would say is on my biggest fails list is probably a lack of a well-rounded approach. You have folks who they like doing the thing that they like to do. Like, I don't like the phone calls, so I'm not going to touch the phones. I just like email, so I'm just going to email everybody, and that's what I'm going to do. I mean, hey, we have a lot of success with individual certain channels like that with just emails, but you'll see much more consistency and a much higher conversion ratio if you can have a well-rounded approach that maybe looks something like, I've got a list. Say maybe the list is, again, the more specific that audience, the better. And then you take that list and say, okay, we're going to run an email campaign. And we've got a series of emails that we're going to run over maybe an 8-week period. And maybe there's going to be 6 or 8 emails in that campaign. At the same time, those are going out. Maybe I'm also running a LinkedIn campaign where that same audience is also receiving a display ad in their feed or a sponsored message on LinkedIn from me that's in line with the messaging that they're seeing from me in the emails. And then also, I'm going to be looking at those emails that I'm sending out, because we'll use things like maybe a tool like MailChimp or HubSpot to manage those campaigns that give us feedback and tell me like who's opening the email, like how are folks engaging with my emails. And so then I can build more qualified list of who are the most top engaged prospects with my emails that I'm sending out. And then those are the folks that we're actually going to spend our time calling on, right? So it's a phone call, it's a LinkedIn message, it's a email that's going out. Maybe you even identify, something I've done successfully over the years is identifying my larger opportunities. I always like to have a running list of like my kind of golden goose, right? Like the top, the big boys, the big prospects. I like to, we want to close a few of those each year too. And maybe we do something different for them. Maybe they're getting these messages in these campaigns, and also we're sending them something in the mail, right? Send them something unique, a gift. Maybe, you're dropping something off by their office. There's all these things that you can do to really stand out and be different. And here's another big one, man. This one for us has been huge in helping us be successful. Any type of, phone calling, email, huge. It's frustrating, or you glaze over those emails. Somebody sends you a message and it's like you opened a book, right? There's so much to it. It's so wordy, right? People oftentimes prospect and you want to say so much, and so your email is just like way too long. It's way too wordy. People aren't paying attention to that stuff, man. It's few and far between somebody's going to sit down and really, read through and pay attention to that much content, especially if they open on their phone. But for us, this has been huge. Trying to make the messaging as short and punchy as possible. And so this is the benefit of like really trying to have a specific list of specific audience that you're targeting. Build that buyer persona. Understand who that audience is and how, what you have relates to them and how you need to speak to them. And then frame the emails as short and concise as possible, real punchy, straight to the point, having in their CTAs, calls to action, right? And it's not maybe always just schedule a call or learn more, talk now kind of thing, and they can schedule on your calendar. It's not just about that. Maybe it's having like a learn more option as well. So it's a softer approach. Maybe, you've emailed a group of folks and maybe they don't want to talk to you right now, but maybe they want to learn a little bit more. You've got their attention. They click, they go to a landing page you've built, or they go to your website, and then maybe they can learn a little bit more, and it warms them up more to the point where maybe they convert from there, right? But it's a softer step in the middle to getting to that appointment. And that's another thing too, honestly, just making it easy, right? Make it really easy for people to do business with you. You look at so many sales processes are just intimidating, right? Folks, a lot of times they don't want to be sold because the process sucks, honestly. Like, it's not fun to go through. Nobody wants to go through some lengthy, brutal sales process where somebody's trying to shove something down their throat. So make it easy for them. Make it easy for your prospects to get educated, to learn about you. It's where LinkedIn and things like that come into play, where you can put out content on a regular basis that gives people a glimpse into who you are, who your company is, your values, your personality, showcase that you're a subject matter expert, right? And so, again, maybe they're getting your email. Maybe they don't schedule with you right away, but maybe you've let them learn more and link over to a landing page that gives them a little more information. Or maybe they land on your LinkedIn profile and they see that, man, this guy's like, this is somebody that I would be interested in talking to. Or I like their personality. They seem like an expert. So these are things that can all go into making a well-rounded approach to increasing your conversions and overall sales success. And I had that on the list. Well, a couple things too. Leveraging video. If you're not doing that, you're missing a huge opportunity. I think right now, people love video content. People love to watch YouTube videos, YouTube shorts, reels on Instagram, that type of thing. But just short form video, So there's platforms out there like Loom is something that we use where I love it. I mean, I can have a meeting, or maybe it's prospecting, right? Sometimes we'll do email campaigns and maybe there's 8 emails and 4 or 5 of them are text, emails. But I'll just record videos. Maybe it's like 1 minute, 2 minutes long, short video with my prospecting message in that video. And then I embed that in the email. Prospect opens my email, they click play, they put a face to the name, they hear me talk. And that's been a big success. And the same thing on LinkedIn, right? I mean, making those short form video clips, sending them to my prospects. We use digitized proposals. So we use a platform that allows us to send a digital link where, the prospect can access our proposal. I can embed videos in that. So I can just give like a quick proposal recap via video in the proposal, wherever I want that and how I want to present it. But that's been really cool as well. Just another nice feature to differentiate, to make things a little more personal, especially if you're working virtually, as a lot of us are nowadays. But yeah, these are all, things that will absolutely have a huge impact on your prospecting success. And I'm going to move into a little bit about closing the sale, because some of you guys, know how to find prospects, you've got leads, just can't close the front door. So we're hoping to help you figure out how to close a little bit stronger. So let's talk about closing sales and how can you do that better. And a big part of that, honestly, is really, you guys you're in a competitive space. There's insurance agents on every corner, right? So why you? You're talking to a prospect, they're talking to you and 3, 4 other brokerages. Why is it going to be you, right? I think this is something that is super critical, and I ask most people this question, and unfortunately most of them don't really have an answer. And it's something that you need to have an answer for. That's just natural, that it's just ingrained in you, and you need to get very clear on what the advantages are that you bring. What is it about you and your agency that's different? What can you bring to the table that the next guy can't, right? One thing, 2 things, the more the merrier, right? But ideally, you need to have 2 or 3 key differentiators that you can hang your hat on that make you different. And it can't just always be, oh, well, we give better service, because everybody's going to say that. Everybody, oh, well, we give better service. Okay. It needs to be more than that. You need to be able to give a different spin on that. You need to be more specific, but get crystal clear on the advantages that you bring. Spend time increasing your knowledge, right? And this is why, like, a lot of agents, they focus on a niche, or maybe they focus on a couple of different, niches, a couple of different industries that they focus on, because they're able to become a subject matter expert really in that industry, and that helps them stand out. But I think it's really important, as you grow, constantly be looking for ways to increase your knowledge. So when you sit down, just the knowledge you have in general they're gonna feel that. It's gonna help build trust. It's gonna help you win. This is a lot of newer folks in the space struggle with this, but some of this stuff is simple. I mean, it's like just being human, right? Be human, be authentic, be your authentic self. I mean, I can't tell you the difference it made for me, probably 3-4 years into my sales career, like overcoming that, like getting out of that place of like having to be so scripted, like having my checklist, having my questions, wanting to make sure that, I get my pitch in and I ask these questions in this order and take them on this journey. Like, look, man, just go relax and be yourself and be authentic. People love that authenticity, and, someone that can just sit down and be genuine. That's going to help somebody warm up to you and really open up to you, right? I mean, if your prospect's not opening up to you, if you get a sense that you're having a difficult time getting honest and elaborate feedback, detailed feedback out of your prospects, it's going to be very hard for you to really build a business case to help you win, especially competitive situations. But it could be just that you need to relax and lighten up and just be human and be genuine, be authentic, and, focus on what they care about. A lot of us, we go into a sales call or we go into a proposal, and we're so focused on the things that, we care about. We want the sale. Like, we're trying to spin it maybe in a certain way, or, we have kind of a preset agenda of, where the value is going to be for this person and what it's going to take to close this deal, versus just listening from the beginning. Like, hey, look, I mean, we're having a conversation. Like, what is it that you're really hoping that I'm going to be able to do for you that the current agent you're working with can't, right? What's going on with your insurance? What's going on with the brokerage you're working with? How's that working for you? What's going well? What's not? Like, why are we having this conversation? Because, I want to make sure, I'm focused on the things that they really care about. They've sat down, prospects are talking with you because there's something they're trying to fix, right? So you need to identify, what's the problem? What are the problem areas, right? Our goal and our job is to solve problems, right? It comes down simply to solving problems, right? These business owners, they need help, they need support, and they're looking for something from you, and that's why they're meeting with you. What is that thing that's on their mind? The most important thing to them that they want to achieve by sitting down and talking with you. That's what you need to figure out, right? And focus in your efforts on building a business case around the thing that is pressing on their mind, around their issues, their problems that you're going to be able to solve. And that's just a big part of it, right? Building that business case and not just focusing on price. It's not, so many folks are just selling on price, selling on premiums. Like, well, let me just run some quotes and see if I can come back with something better. And I'm telling you, like, for me, probably one of the most powerful changes that I made over the years, and this just comes with, time, experience, gaining confidence, and getting to a place where you're not afraid to challenge your prospect. I don't see a lot of salespeople out there who are comfortable pushing, challenging their prospect, asking difficult questions. You see salespeople get in conversations and kind of tiptoe around the business owner. I don't want to ruffle any feathers. I don't want to get them frustrated. I don't want to challenge anything that they're doing because this is their thing. And that's all great. It's great to be respectful and professional. Obviously, we want to do that. But at the same time, they don't know what they don't know. And the longer you're in your field of expertise, the more you learn, the more you're able to bring value and come in and push back. Like for me, I mean, I see things like, well, why are you, like, tell me about this process. Or like, why are you doing this way? Right? Are you sure that's really the best thing to be doing? Like I'm very, happy to jump in when I see an opportunity that makes sense and push back on a prospect and maybe disagree with something, with that prospect in terms of what they're doing or their, vision about a certain thing, right? I'm here to help make your business better. I've got knowledge and I've got resources and I've got solutions that can change your life as a business owner, can impact your business in dramatic ways, but that really happens when, you put your expertise to use, right? And you guide that prospect and you help them identify things that maybe they didn't even have a clue was a problem or a clue was an opportunity when you sit down in front of them, right? So don't be afraid to challenge your prospect and ask tough questions and push back sometimes and really guide them and really be that expert that's really there to help them make their business better. And this is simple too. I mean, really, a lot of us, I had a manager it's probably 6 or 7 years into my career that told me this. It was so simple, and honestly, it was like, why am I not doing this already? And it made a huge difference, and it still does. I use it today. It's so simple, but it's just, once I know that I've done everything I can, and I feel like there's real value here, and I've really built a solid business case, and this person should be doing business with me, confidently asking for the business, right? And I think a big part of that is like, and this comes down to focusing on what they care about, but it's making sure that you have buy-in. It's making sure that you're not the only one that sees the problems. You're not the only one that understands the value of the solution, but getting buy-in from your prospect and their confirmation that yes, they agree, and you and them agree that, hey, we've identified these things as being the major issues that we want to focus on, and we agree, and the prospect agrees and confirms that, hey, yes, like I like this solution. This makes sense to me. I feel like, yes, this looks good, and this is going to help me accomplish my goals and solve the problems. Once you're there and all those things are done, I mean, look, give us a shot. We want your business. We want to do business with you guys. We know we can take good care of you. We know what we can deliver. So, give us a chance. We want your business. Confidently ask for the business, guys. Like, it's such a simple thing. And I promise you, it makes a huge difference. We'll do things like post proposal. Sometimes we're doing simple things like, we'll send, maybe it's a Starbucks gift card, or maybe it's like there's an app called Thanks, THNKS. And so a lot of times I'll send like an email, gift of some sort, and just thank them. I appreciate all your time and effort, work. And I might do that to the folks that have helped through that sales process, who all's involved. Just something to acknowledge them, tell them thanks, appreciate your effort in helping us get to this point, kind of thing. And I like sending video notes too to follow up. As mentioned, I'll use Loom for us, for example, and just record a quick, video to, hey, thank you guys so much for all your work through this, and just kind of, recapping the value, maybe asking for the business in some type of way, but, love incorporating video. Makes a huge difference. Again, especially if you're working virtually. And let's see, I want to make sure I don't miss. There's so much we could talk about, guys, as it relates to sales, but I know everything I'm talking to you about today, I mean, these are the things that have helped me, that have helped our businesses succeed and excel at extremely high levels and outperform and consistently, be that top 10, 5, 1% salesperson. So again, a lot of it's not rocket science, guys. A lot of it's just being committed and being consistent and showing up every day and putting in the work and keeping the right mindset, the right attitude, being adaptable. It's going to help you overcome a lot and start to see, a lot more success. But this was a big one too. I want to leave you with this, because this has been something that's helped me so much. There's a lot of, you'll hear people having conversations about, people bashing competition or saying negative. Should you ever say anything negative about a competitor? Sometimes sometimes we know, like, you're talking to so-and-so company, well, they suck. Like, we know sometimes there are companies out there that really do a horrible job. Like, most of us, I think, are out there, and we do, for the most part. Most everybody's working hard with the best interest of the client, and we're doing a pretty solid job. But there are, some bad players out there sometimes, but you don't want to find yourself in that position where you're sitting there with your prospect and you're like, oh, God, yeah, those guys suck. Like, don't do that, please. So something that I've done very successfully to address those things, if I know you're talking, my prospect's talking to, these 2 or 3 competitors, and I know my industry well, I know my competition. I love, like, okay, I always want to know that, right? What other solutions are you looking at? I want to know what I'm up against, right? So, what else are you looking at? Who are you talking to? If you've built good rapport and good trust, 90% of the time they're going to tell you that. Great. Well, here's what I'm going to do for you, prospect. I'll follow up with an email, but also I'm going to send you, and I'll put together a list of questions for them. If you're talking to so-and-so, you're talking to these competitors, you need to make sure that you go back and you ask them these things, right? And I'll give them a list of questions that if they're asking these questions, it's going to uncover all the things that competitor probably purposefully maybe didn't tell them or didn't go into detail or didn't show them, that could create some real problems, right? So I'm going to kind of tee up some questions for that prospect that may kind of help expose any bad players that are in there competing for the deal. So use that one. I promise you that is huge. It has worked incredibly well for me. But man, look, I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. I tried to really just kind of, get to the point with it, but I could ramble about sales for hours. But I know what we've talked about today will absolutely change the game for you. So, I hope you guys have a blessed sales year, your best one ever. Make sure to keep track of us, the Broker Collective and HRO on YouTube. We're obviously sending out monthly content as well to most of you on our email list. But, stay tuned. We've got some great podcasts coming up this year. Very excited about that. You can always find out more about us, too, if you're not familiar with us at brokercollective.xyz. But for now, I'm your host, Marcus Malone, president at HRO in the Broker Collective, and appreciate you guys so much. We'll catch you next time.